This is the Willpower Podcast live at the Growth Code Conference. No scripts, no fluff, just real conversations with rehab owners in the room, sharing what's working right now. Today, I'm joined by Haley Addis, founder of More to Say, diving into how your onboarding process is either building or breaking your culture, and the practical system she uses to turn new hires into deeply aligned, purpose-driven team members from day one. Here we go. Haley, thank you so much for being on the Willpower Podcast. I'm so excited to jump right in to this idea of how you think and say how you onboard people is how you develop your company culture, essentially.
Yes.
Did I represent that well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get right into it. You're very successful. I did the introduction already before you sat down. Let's talk about this process. How do you onboard people?
So our whole onboarding journey, right, it starts even before they start. So we want team members to know what to expect before we even finish an interview and give them an offer. We want them to fully be aligned with what we value. So we go through our core values, right, in the interview process. We make sure that they understand.
How do you do that? Let's kind of dissect these things a little bit, because
Sure.
people might hear these things and think, oh, I know what that looks like.
Yes.
How do you talk about your values in the interview process?
Yes. So in our second interview, which is in our in-person interview where they get to come in and see the clinic and they get to observe sessions and see the kids and all those fun things, we really deep dive into the questions that would align with what our core values are. So we're getting some information from the candidates on, what does this look like for you?
Right.
So we talk about, our support and collaboration. We ask them to give examples of how they can connect with those pieces. So we're getting information from them about what our core values look like, and then they're getting the information from us, and we say, okay, yeah, this is how we do it here. These are our definitions. So we talk about it. We have them observe so that they can see actually the core values in action.
Okay, how do they observe a core value in action?
So they're going into the sessions, right? And for example, they'll see how collaborative our team is. So they'll see the OTs and SLPs working together in a session, helping each other. They get to see all of that unfold and see if it's in alignment with what they would want to do.
And then you point that out. It sounds like our value is collaboration, or however you phrase it. And then they observe it and you go, can you see how that worked? What did you think about it? Does that align? That kind of stuff.
Yes. And they're doing that. So that's part of the interview process. That's with our, any team member, not specifically an interviewer. So our whole team knows how to talk about and represent the company to these candidates without even really, they're a part of the interview process because they're the ones that are pointing this out. So it's not essentially a leader going in and saying, this is our core value. It's our whole team it participates in it.
So what's cool about that is that that's another way you're reinforcing your culture, because you're having them represent and hold standard for the values.
Yes.
And I think that's, a lot of people who are like, if you're brand new to this is probably blowing their minds. But most people, I think, have some concept of I know I'm supposed to use my values, but are they actually doing it?
Yes.
My thing is this, is that if people knew the statistics around companies that leverage onboarding the right way and how they retain better and what that means in terms of income, the stat I shared yesterday was a 218% greater income for companies that retain twice the average of the average person. And you're saying the key, and this is, by the way, you're backed by science too, the key to successful onboarding is through your values, through your culture. And so that's one way that you do that. It sounds like you start onboarding them during the second interview.
Essentially.
That's amazing.
Yes, so they're getting prepared right there, right? And then that rolls over into, right, if this is a great fit for them, for us, because we want it to be a good fit for them too. We don't want to just say, this is our top candidate, we want you to work here. We want you to want to work here. We want you to be this is the place for me. So we really make sure that that's mutual and everyone's on the same page. And then it's fully embedded. Our core values are embedded into everything. So it's part of our onboarding. It's part of our training. Obviously, they deep dive into all of these studies with their supervisor or trainer or whoever it is. They really deep dive into it, but then they see it in action every single day.
Yeah.
We call it the More to Say Happy Chat. So it's
More to Say is your company.
Yes, More to Say is my company. Yes.
Those little things that we say. So More to Say is your company. It's in your group chat.
Yes. So we have this fun little group chat. It's called Happy Chat, and we every single day, team members are shouting out each other. For representing our core values.
Wow.
So they'll be shout out to Stacy for support. She helped me transition this kiddo out. Or, shout out to Michaela for growth because she just got her C's. And it's It's technical things, it's fun things, it's silly things, and we do it every single. There's never a day where Happy Chat is quiet. Never a day.
And I think what happens for people who've never worked in a company that is really clearly communicating their values as effectively as you guys are, is that it's polarizing. People who I am imagining who've never worked in that space, who believe what you believe, are feeling like refreshed and aligned and charged, and others will tackle it, probably put it down or whatever, because I could see, it's so important emotionally to people that I could see someone that they wouldn't feel like they could say, why are we talking about this? Because they would look stupid if they challenge something that the group feels is important to them.
Yes.
So you talk about the onboarding process. Let's say someone's accepted their job position. What happens? Let's talk about the big things and dive in. So what are the key elements of the onboarding process that you see it from the time that someone's accepted their job offer?
So obviously once they accept, they kind of get our standard introduction, our welcome. The welcome outlines what they're going to be having access to in terms of their benefits and all that. They have an offer letter that's signed, everything's accepted. And then also in there, they get a quick, brief introduction to all of our employee programs. So a lot of our benefits are really culture-based benefits in the sense of they get access to our wellness program, our financial wellness program, our mentorship program. We have all of these different things. So we outline that really briefly.
This is the letter that they're getting at the beginning.
Yes, this is like a really brief outline of all of those things, which they've already discussed in the interview process so that they know what's there for them. So then they get all that information, they get their training schedule their first day. They come in and we have actually before they even come in, obviously the leader who is in charge of their schedule will time block out every single piece of training that they have to do. So I'm just going to use clinicians as an example here.
Yeah,
for
clinicians
things
are easy to use.
It's just easy to kind of keep one training schedule and one onboarding process. So they really do very minimal treatment that first week. They see usually about 5 kids with their supervisor to just show them what those sessions are going to be like. But really the first week is 30 to 40 hours of just training. And then that whole schedule is blocked out, and we time block out the schedule for 8 weeks of what their training blocks look like. So we don't expect them to really ramp up and see full schedules until quite a bit of time into their training process. So that's already time blocked before they even come in.
And they can see all this?
They'll see it in their Raintree schedule, yeah.
That's amazing. So you have this kind of built out. So you're
Yeah.
ramping people up. What's the philosophy on that? How do you ramp people up successfully?
Yeah, so I've learned some things the hard way, right? So when I first started, and I was like, when I started my first job, I just was treating a full caseload the first week. So right when I started my company, I'm like, other people could do that, right? And then I realized that didn't work very well. People were like, wow, I'm overwhelmed. This is really stressful. I don't know what to do. And we would even see, right, before we really got a good grasp on our numbers and stats and all of those things, like knowing the back end things of the company, I didn't know really what my team's performance was. And this, I'm talking years ago, right?
Sure.
And then I realized that they had really low productivity, but they were saying they were burnt out. And I was like, I wonder what's happening here.
Yeah,
Where's
I saw
the
that, by
disconnect?
the way. I was in Alaska doing some coaching years ago, and I was talking to the team. They see 1 patient in physical therapy per hour. That is death in terms of boredom for me.
Yes.
And I was talking to them. They were seeing 35 visits a week, and they're like, we're burning out.
Yes.
So what is it?
So what it is they don't know what their expectations are. They're burnt out because they're always trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing, right? So they were like,
So they're not busy enough.
they're not busy enough but then it feels like they don't know what to do, right? So if they were seeing, they're seeing 20 kids a week, and they were like, I'm burnt out, I'm so overwhelmed by my paperwork, by this, by that. I'm like, they don't have the training.
Right.
So they don't know what to do, how to do it, and what the purpose of it is. And if nobody knows whose job it is, they're like, then it's nobody's job, right?
Right.
Like,
if nobody knows whose job it is, I'm not going to step in because I don't even know what to do.
Exactly. So I was like, because, we would have some leaders and other team members, they're like, why are they complaining? And I'm like, they're complaining because they truly are burnt out. They're stressed. They do not know what to do. We have to teach them. We have to train them, mold them, help them, shape them. Otherwise, they're not going to know. And we have found that the team, as we've grown, the more expectations we put into place, the better the culture is.
Well, and the reason why, you said this thing about understanding why it's important, like these things and how they connect. And so knowing how to do it, but knowing why it's important is a big part of preventing burnout. I'm learning something in real time right now, Haley, which is that burnout occurs because of so many things to do that you don't know how to keep up. burnout can also occur from having so few things to do that you don't know how or why you can get busier or why it's important. And so you're sitting there, you may not be doing a lot, but it's still stressful. It's the stress that causes the burnout. So I heard a phrase I love called production is the basis of morale. So people, when they're productive and they're purpose driven, they're the happiest.
Yes. We teach our team this. We use that phrase.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we do. And,
we came from the same coaching background. Yes. I forgot that we had overlap there because you know where I got that from. Yeah,
absolutely. And we have found the more productive our team members are. And we're talking productive in all different ways, too. I'm not just talking about like
hitting your key stat and hitting numbers.
I'm talking about everything altogether because we value our team members doing the core values just as much as we value them hitting what their targets are for how many kids they're going to help. So we value those equally. They get bonused on both things.
Okay. Now this is interesting. What is that? Not in detail, but like how do you bonus someone on values?
So we have a couple of different ways. We have both like a kind of a gamified version of it and an actual monetary bonus. So gamified, we have core value coins and they get their shout outs every week in our staff meeting. So we do wins and shout outs for a few minutes at the beginning. Yeah. Different people get selected out of a hat essentially if they're going to share their win and shout out that week. And they shout out each other. And then we also do executive shout outs. So our leadership team shouts out all the core values, right? So if somebody advanced on our clinical ladder, shout out for growth, et cetera. And they get the coins, and then we have a core value coin exchange store where they get to trade the coins in for, whatever they want. They can go out for dinners with certain team members. They can, get a sweatshirt. They can get a gift card, a spa day, all these different things. So they do that. So that's more of like
do you have a system? How do you use a company to help you organize that, or is that something you just do internally?
We just do that internally.
There are software companies that are emerging that can organize that, but it's nice that you just do it. Yeah.
Yes, it's at the scale that we're at. Right, we're like 55 employees, so we're able to do that ourselves right now. But obviously, always looking to adjust things as we grow if we need to. But then also they do have a bonus where they have a monthly bonus. It's called their accelerator bonus. And every time they do something that qualifies under our core value program, they get a certain number of points, and then whatever their total points are for the end of the month, it aligns with a certain monetary amount. So they get an actual monetary bonus for if they volunteer at one of our community events.
Oh my gosh.
They get points for that. If they participate in our social media posts, so they don't have to do they don't make the post or do the post, but if our marketing team's like, we're going to come film your session today, and they're like, yeah, of course you can come do that, they get points for that because they have to be willing to do those things.
And how they show up matters. And how if they're like feeling forced, it's going to show up in the video. And it's interesting, video games are hysterical nowadays because I used to play like Mario and stuff growing up, and then I have 4 boys, so I was playing some video games recently with them, and I was laughing because I logged on, I created a profile just to start my game, and I got an award. I got this like, Bing, you created a profile, you get a point, and I'm like, it's so true because we should incentivize any behavior that we want to see more of. And that's what I'm hearing from you is that like you're seeing culture as a behavior. And so you incentivize it and you do it in every opportunity. You're looking for anything you can. I love the coin idea. There's something tangible.
Yes. They're little wooden coins. They have our logo on them. They're so cute. They have jars, so everyone can see the jars too, right? So you get to see the team members that are like filling their jar up, right? And they're like, "What? I want to fill my jar up," right?
Why? Yeah, you have one coin in your jar. Then it becomes group accountability, like we talked about in our talk yesterday. Here at Growth Code, by the way, here in Miami, and so that group accountability is way more powerful than a leader holding someone accountable. Group accountability is almost like social pressure where they have that. So I would never want to be the guy with a jar with one coin and everyone else has got like halfway or 3/4 filled. And then you look at the person who's got like one that's brimming, you're like, they're awesome. They're rock stars. And I love the coin as well because not only is it tangible, but they get recognized, which everyone loves. I don't care what they say. They love that public recognition. And they associate that feeling with that logo. And that starts to have them feel like that's me.
Yes.
That's the difference between working somewhere versus being a part of something that's bigger than you.
And that's why we do all these different things too, right? So I'm like, we have the games, we have the monetary bonus. Different people, right? Like they like the different types of rewards, different styles. And like you said, any opportunity we can bring our core values in or if we can incentivize people to do the things that we value, we're going to do that. And that's why I was saying too, we have all those employee programs. We have different clubs. Like we do a book challenge for the past couple of years where the challenge is to read 100 books for the year.
Wow.
And it's a hard challenge, right? That's a lot of books.
But I like it. I like that it's big.
But we do give prize. You get a prize for participating. So just read one book, you get to participate, you get a prize.
Interesting.
25 books, 50 books, 75 books, 100. And we've had a lot of team members say, I used to love to read, and it fell off because I was so busy. This book challenge has made me a reader again.
Wow.
And that people reading books does not essentially do anything for the company, but it does
in the short term.
Right, but it does it for the person. And that's what I care about. I care about the company as a whole, but I care about every single individual person. So I want there to be a program, a game, a challenge, something for everyone, right? Not everything we do is for every single person. Not everyone's going to like exactly the same thing, but there's something for everyone. That's the most important thing.
Can they read any book?
Yes.
Okay.
Any book.
So that's why it's more about the person, because I think if you had certain books in there that might be different, but it's powerful that again, a challenge that is really inspiring. 100 books is like, who would do that? Mm-hmm. But then when you have one person on the team do it, and then you have a handful hit 75 or 50 or 25, all of a sudden it becomes like this doable thing, and like it becomes status.
Yes.
Status sells more than anything else. And if someone has status in our company with their own people, they're belonging.
Yes.
Amazing.
And it's just fun. My 9-year-old daughter's doing the
book challenge.
She said, "Can I be on the book challenge list?" And she's winning.
I remember being in the first grade, and my Miss Federico, the teacher, had like this book challenge, and I will never forget. Like it was how many books and it was like a color thing. So like I forgot. I think it was gold was like the highest color, and it had a name to it, like the tiger level. And I will remember to this day. I'm 50 years old. I remember being in the first grade, knowing what color I was, and how the one person who was this ferocious leader hit it like in no time flat, and I was so angry at her. Like there's something about these challenges, and they're all about like giving them an opportunity to invest in themselves, and they feel like the company cares. Yeah.
And because we do, right? We do actually care. That's the thing. I think that's the difference sometimes, because sometimes a company will say, like, I'm going to do what this other company does. Like, it's, like, that's really cool that they do that. But if they don't actually care about it deep down, it's not going to reflect the same way. And that's why whenever I do, like, have a conversation or talk with other owners, I try to say, this works for me because I really care about this, but it might look a little bit different for how you're going to implement something in your company.
Right. And that's the thing about, like, I want a better culture. Then people will research things like that and say, I'm going to do that. And sometimes it doesn't work, and they wonder why it falls flat. I asked you before we hit record, how did you develop such an amazing culture? Your team here at Growth Code stands out. They're like Bob's team from Peds for Kids. Just unbelievable. Like cultures where people are unified in all they're saying and doing, but you're so young. So I asked you how you got there, because it's not like you've had coaching, but it's not like you had a culture coach. Share with the audience what you told me about how you were able to figure that out.
So like I had said, when I first started, I had tried to figure out little things on my own, and I was like, when problems were happening, things weren't working, I realized I had to take a step back, look and see what was going on, and realize that it all came back to me. So I had to change what I was doing, because if the team didn't know what they had to do, or they didn't know where they had to go, or they didn't know the purpose behind it, they weren't going to be able to do it. So I reflected on what are the problems, and where did I have a roadblock, right? Because the roadblocks were with me. So I either didn't train correctly, I didn't share correctly, I didn't learn the right thing, I maybe needed to learn more information. And what I really started doing was listening to my team and surveying, getting feedback. And
how do you listen to your team?
Yeah, when I first ever did a survey, it was really hard, because we were in a place where I didn't have a strong culture yet. So feedback that I got, I was like, oh my goodness.
What did you ask in the survey?
Basically just what is rewarding for you at work? What makes you show up? What things would you change, and how would you? And these questions have changed over the time. So when I first asked the questions, I asked a lot about what could be improved, and they told me.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's interesting you should say that.
Yeah, and it was really hard. And then over time, as we shifted and shaped our culture and built into these team members, I do this survey every year, an annual feedback survey. Every team member fills it out. We have a one-on-one meeting personally with myself, and we go over what they said. And every single meeting that I have, they're like, we love that we have this feedback opportunity. And they don't have to wait. I tell them, you don't wait a whole year to give feedback, right? You don't wait until the annual survey. Right. But it gives them a forced time to think about what they want and need and what it looks like. So we really ask now about, like I said, like, what is rewarding for them? What could improve how they're doing their job, and we ask them for solutions, right? We ask them to propose solutions. You don't get to just say, I don't like this. You have to say, here's my challenge.
That's a big difference.
This is some ideas about how I want to handle it. Because if you just let people complain, that's a totally different thing than getting feedback. Feedback and complaining is different.
Absolutely. And I think there's people and personality types that just want to complain. And you can tell, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. So when someone is a complainer, they're not going to fill out the survey because they just want to complain, which means they're going to go talk to other people about it. And that's where you got to cut them out. But like for those people who are like maybe just really like high standards and they seem complainy, but really they've got like this vision of quality. They're going to go, thanks for asking. Here's the problem, but here's all the 30 things I would do. And then you put them in charge and they feel empowered and seen and heard. That's pretty amazing.
Yes. And I use this every year as a tool. So I meet with them individually, but I also take all the results kind of, right, like in aggregate and be like, okay, where are what are the buzzwords popping up? Like, what are the problems that we need to address? And we do an annual leadership retreat. So at the beginning of the year, basically I take all the information from the surveys, not anonymously, obviously, I just put it like in a group, and I meet with my leadership team. We do a couple nights away together, and I train them up on some different areas that I find to be inspiring, and we also sit down and talk about, these are the things that are the problems from last year. What are we going to do now? And I have some ideas, but I also want my whole leadership team to come up with ideas because they're so great at it. And it's like really fulfilling for me too, to be like, wow, like that is so amazing. We are so aligned with what we want to do. So we do that. And I say to when I do the one-on-one meetings with the individuals, I'm like, you're on the front line of this. Like you're the one doing this treatment, or you're the one at the front desk. I am not. So your idea for a solution a lot of times is going to be better than mine. And we value those.
That's got to do something for people when they hear that the owner is saying your idea can be better than mine. It creates equality. It helps them feel important. It's so great that you have them do that. And again, what people help create, they buy into. And one of the greatest things I learned in my journey, it took me forever, was that when I had the right people, that if I asked them what the problems were and asked them for the solutions and asked them to solve them, that they did. And it was easier for me and the outcomes were 10 times better. So you do this annually.
We do that annually, but also, our whole team has a one-on-one with their direct supervisor every week. So we do weekly one-on-one meetings, and they have an opportunity for feedback, and they go obviously through all these things. But we even want to improve it even more. So we actually have just finished working on a project to do a full feedback loop, because something that was happening sometimes with feedback coming up throughout the year, not necessarily on the annual surveys, but just throughout, right? People are so busy. So a team member might say, I have an idea for this, and their supervisor might be like, that sounds amazing. We want to do that. And then they got busy, they forgot, they didn't get it to the right person, it fell through. And then that team member is probably like, oh, they really liked my idea, but maybe they didn't, they were just saying that, or whatever happened to that, I don't want to ask about it again, that's embarrassing. So we don't want that to happen. So I said the most important thing we need to do with feedback is close the loop. They need an update no matter what the decision is and no matter what's going to happen. So we created this whole system, and it's a very thorough tracking system where it's like, this is the step, so you get the feedback, this is what you have to do, and the supervisor then decides, what do I think is going to be the right thing? Is it just a clarifying conversation? Do I have to explain to this person why that's a great idea, but it won't work right now? Or maybe we can table it for later. Or do we need a policy or procedure or a workflow? Or do we want them to come up with their own project or plan here? Like, what are going to be the next steps? Their supervisor tries to figure out that. Then it goes to the next person, and then the last step always is they have to mark off that they closed that loop. So that team member is going to get an update no matter what the outcome is.
Why is that important?
Because otherwise they're sitting
it doesn't
in that
matter.
wondering. Right?
None of the benefit is realized by the employee.
They're not feeling valued, right? They're not having their feedback feel valued, and that to me is the worst feeling that they could possibly have, because I want to practice what I preach. I don't want to say your feedback is important to me and then not take their feedback. Right? You see that. You get like a feedback survey from somewhere and you put your feedback and then nothing, you never hear again or nothing ever changes. And
it's
then you're
so
like, why did I spend my time doing that? right? Like, that's kind of annoying.
I don't know what the stats would be.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see what the research would show if they analyzed it. But I think my guess would be that, like, the worst thing to do is not anything. The second thing the first thing to do would be good, which is ask people what they want to change and how they could change it. The third thing would be to close the loop, of course, because there's nothing better than having that, like, wow, I said something and I affected change. I matter, because there's visual proof that occurred. Yes. So the survey thing is so massive. Just for the audience rock stars, one thing that we did was it was called a start, stop, keep survey. And you can do it lots of different ways, where you just ask your every employee every year, what should we start doing, stop doing, and keep doing? Because that way you can get trends, and we're not pivoting to every individual person, which I know you don't do either. I think the biggest lesson that I'm learning from you, Haley, is that you don't have to have coaching to learn how to develop great culture. You just have to want to create an individualized experience for your clients, your employees, the way that you would for your clients. You go in there, you want them to have a feeling, and you ask them, how's it going? Like, how are you receiving this? What's great? What's not? Yes. I think my favorite thing I ever did was ask my company on a regular basis, what's the worst thing about my company? Our company. Yeah. Like, what's the and it was like, one time it was, you give us generous time off, but no system to do it, so we don't actually use it, so it feels like a slap in our face. I was like, ouch. But then we fixed it.
And because you wouldn't have realized that was a problem, right? Because you're like, I have this great time off.
If we make our plans based on squealing, like if that's the only time we change is when people are upset, we are already lost. Yes. Because we be proactive is what I'm seeing from you. Culture for you is a proactive, intentional activity that helps get things going. So going back to onboarding. Yes. So I love that you do this as a follow-up loop. So early on, they get this letter. It breaks down all these elements. They have these systems. What about training? What is it about training that helps you feel like it connects them to their culture?
So the training is so detailed and so in-depth. And like we've talked about before, their onboarding journey it's called the first year journey. And when we're saying the first year, it's a more to say first year journey, it is a full year. And so it's almost silly to call it onboarding, because it's forever, essentially, right? It's just long term.
Yes.
But it is the onboarding, and in our training, in this onboarding journey, it's separated into 3 phases, and we base the development of it on the S-curve of learning. I read the book by Whitney. I can't think of her last name. Whitney Johnson, I think. But I've developed it based on this book when I was like, this makes sense. This is how we learn any skill. It's very slow to start, right? So it's on an S-curve in the sense of it's very slow to start. Things are really hard. You're like, I have no idea what I'm doing when I'm learning something. Any skill, tennis, right? You could be like, what do I do? I know what the equipment is. That's the bare minimum information I have. Now, now what?
Learning where to even go to practice. Like, how do I find a facility?
Yes, don't know what to do. So, that's the beginning thing. Then once you start picking up traction and learning and you start doing a little more, you're like, okay, things are getting a little bit easier. And then growth is fast. You're like, oh, I'm going to take off. I know what I'm doing. This is the sweet spot. That's the phase 2. And then once you really get good, your learning and the growth kind of slows down again, right? So at the top of the S, you know what you're doing, you've mastered it, and the risk there is you can get bored. So
and where burnout occurs again, like they're bored because they're not productive.
Just doing the same thing. They're like, okay, I mastered that. I can see that many kids a week and get my notes done. Now what? And we don't want that to happen. So we base our first year journey on this thought process that phase 1. They're coming in and they know nothing. Right. They know nothing. Right. They know nothing about, well, a little bit because we introduced it in the interview, but really they don't know how to do anything at More to Say, right? They may know how to be an SLP somewhere else, but they don't know how to be an SLP at More to Say yet. So we have to teach them. So we go through a very, very thorough training of the basics, right? Obviously they get, of course, detailed EMR training and how we actually, what our policies and procedures are, and some of those more boring pieces, but that they have to learn. But we also really focus on our core values in the beginning. So we have the deep dive into the training there. They learn about some of the employee programs. We space this out over time because it's a lot. We offer so many employee programs that if we tried to teach them all just in one session, it would be they wouldn't use the benefit then because there would be too much for them to try to look through. Right. So we slowly introduce that. We start with our wellness program because we feel like anyone could use that from the start, right? We do in-office massages. They have access to virtual counseling covered by the company.
Wow.
We do have a snack and water delivery system every month.
Oh my gosh.
Just like we have, people who come in and do workshops, just like so many things in this program. And this is our most, highly used favorite program. The massages are probably the number one that get used. So this is something we introduced right away. So we're like, you get this, and we want you to feel well. We want you to feel healthy and well. That's why that's there. So we go through and really deep dive into all of these things with them. And their training is done both with their direct supervisor, with our executive team, with other leaders. It's really collaborative, which is one of our core values, of course. And so the first phase is probably like 12 weeks, where they're really getting ramped up, right? Like what you would consider like a 90-day, period for somebody. Yes. That's kind of like the traditional, but that's where most people stop, right? So they stop, and then they're like, okay, you're prepared for your job. Good luck. Right, and that's where trainings
usually
fall off. Yeah.
Totally.
And even if they get that far, right? Sometimes it's like you get 1 week training and then good luck to you. And we don't think that that's enough. We think you have to keep going. And in phase 2, once they're like, okay, now I know how to treat the kids. I know how to talk to the families. I know how to do home programming. I know how to make a resource. I know how to exude our core values here. Then they dive deeper and they really get to learn what everybody does in their individual roles in the company. So they get to meet with the patient services manager and really have really good conversation about how does that person impact what you do every day and how does it impact what we're trying to achieve here. So they do that, they get that in phase 2. They start doing a clinical pathway. So we have a ton of internal training programs. So like an AAC program, a feeding program, sensory integration, and our clinicians then do these internal trainings to become experts.
And what does that internal training entail? Is it like an online portal? Do you have what does that look like?
So it's a number of factors. Basically, it's outlined just in a big chart in a document, and it has links. Some of the links are external to things. We house everything in Google Drive. So some of the links are external. Some are things we've made. Some are paid continuing eds that they have to go to. And it's
So it's like a checklist. It's like, here's the checklist of things that you got to do. And it just it sends them where they need to go virtually or to go get physical experience.
Yes, because sometimes sometimes part of the training is observing this type of session or meeting with, the feeding lead or whatever it is, right? So there's both pieces they do independently, pieces that they do interactively with other team members, and both themselves and their leader holds them accountable to completing that, because we think that clinicians need to be supported and guided to get trained up in these different areas, because there's so much out there to learn, and we just want to make sure that the alignment is there with what our play-based, responsive, naturalistic approach is. So we want to guide them and say, here, we've gathered all of this for you right here. You don't have to find it. It's laid out. It's so simple.
And it's self-paced. It's on their own, how they can do it however they want. And I'm sure there's some sort of reward if they go through it.
Yes. Well, they have more opportunities, and it also aligns with our clinical ladder. So our clinical ladders are essentially a growth path where you can earn different roles in the company and different opportunities and just better yourself. And so that's there's some alignment there, and really the best benefit for themselves is they're finding the clinical skill set that they most value, and then the reward is you get to work with more kids with that.
I see.
So
they get to do what they love more.
Yes,
and exactly. Then so in that S curve, it's like, oh, you've mastered this. Here's a new S.
Yes.
And so you provide multiple S's, which is great, because as long as people are progressing, as long as people are productive, they're happy.
Yes.
And then the cultural piece, all those fringe benefits, they get to go back and tell their family, I get massages.
Yes.
I have personalized snacks. These elements are, and I love that you train them on those benefits. You could have 50 amazing benefit packages, but if people don't know or use them, they're worthless.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're getting those packages created in terms of benefits based on feedback from people. What else? What's another problem you're having? And then you solve it, or you ask them, how would you like to solve that problem? And they go, I'd like a massage.
Yes, I ask in the annual feedback survey what programs they utilize, which ones they have utilized, are there any other ones they would like to see, right? And we ask them questions about where they see themselves, right, in growing, and how can our leadership team support you to get there. And sometimes, right, it's been in the past the mentorship, the training, but now a lot of the time it's so great. They're already what I'm doing, already the mentorship program and the clinical
they're more reinforcing what you already do versus new things that need to be done.
Yes.
What would you say to an owner who's looking at this and just thinking, this is too expensive? I don't think that's really their secret sauce. What would you say? It's
not expensive. Well, one, I think any investment in your team isn't even an expense, because it's your ROI is going to be just huge on.
Do you believe that your profitability is tied to these things that we're talking about?
Absolutely, because it retains team members. It is so expensive to hire and onboard and train team members, especially with our training. It is very our leaders spend a lot of time with this training, and that not only revenue wise, but people's time and energy. If they have to keep starting over because they're replacing people with the trainings, that's exhausting. When we're doing it for growth, much more exhilarating for those leaders to be doing the training versus if they're like, I got to catch this person up so that we can, cover someone that left. So the retention alone is huge. And so the investment is there. That's absolutely, and it reflects in the services, right? If you don't have team members who love to be there and love what they do, your services are not going to be as good to those families. No. And the families are going to want to go elsewhere. So for me, every single piece, and people might disagree with this, but I think every single piece of the profitability starts with the culture.
Every single piece. And I would say the same for me. Every time I built a company around these concepts and have done my version of this, and I had to figure mine out with help. I really didn't. I mean, there's a point at which you start figuring it out because you do become aware. It's like just about being a good human, understanding how you can look at your team as your primary customer, not as a means to getting money or serving your primary customer. They are the primary customer for owners.
Yes.
The legacy isn't the money or the patients we see, it's the team that we build. And when we see that, it becomes a joy to see them light up, like a parent with children going, wow, look at them progress. Look what I can do to serve them, and you reward them and they get happy. But I think what people don't realize is the statistics. I think when you go through and I won't go through them now, but like when people see how much more expensive it is not to do this, they might be motivated.
Yes.
But the things the intangibles that we can't quantify in terms of money, but it does show up in money. We just can't link them directly, and I know you can agree to this, is that when you go to work every day as an owner and you're happy and they're happy for the most part, and you just feel like you're lucky and everyone feels like they're lucky. Today I've had a number of people tell me how great my team is and how lucky I am to have them. I'm like, you better believe it. And I take that as a huge compliment that it's not the Will show. Because when I go to work and I'm happy and they're happy, guess what? Those are coincidentally, I'm putting that in quotes, the most profitable moments of my business. And so there's this joy factor. It's not about like reducing expense and it's expensive not to do this. It's just so sad not to. It's so wonderful to go to work and have a team that your team loves you.
Yes,
Haley,
and
your
I
team,
love them.
it's so mutual.
Yes,
it's a rare thing to see your team the way you guys show up.
It is. I truly, I can't even explain, it's so humbling when I go to the office or when we're at an event like this, and people are always coming up to me and they're like, your team is amazing.
They are.
The energy of your team. And I get goosebumps because I'm like, I know they are. Yeah. And I couldn't do anything that I do without them. And the thing is, we've all built into each other. I built into them, but they built into me. And they truly make me grow and become a better leader because I feel so much joy. That's it for me. When I see them happy, my team, every single person on my team, that brings me joy. And I can't ask for a better payment, right? That's it for me. And that's why for the whole purpose of my company, right? Of course, our mission is to empower all children to live happy, fulfilling lives. Yeah. Number one, but it can't be number one without being equal to creating a place where team members want to be, where they love to be, where they can grow. Yeah. It can't be one or the other in the top space, right? They're equal.
Well, your purpose to me, because who isn't a child? Like who isn't, who doesn't have parents? So when I hear your purpose, I see that perfectly applied to your amazing team. You have two people here at Growth Code, don't you?
Yes.
So amazing. Yes. Like it's one of those where you're sitting down there and it's like a club that you're feeling openly invited to, but like I know when I have a culture where I feel like I want to apply to that company, which I want to apply to yours, and I'm like I'm not certified in your specialties at all. Like and it's because of the culture and that magnetic draw for people is so intoxicating and wonderful. Here's what I want my rock stars to hear. Rock stars, as you're listening to this, you might be beating yourself up because you're thinking, man, I don't have this. I'm such a loser, all these things. Listen, you don't see the light till you're in the dark. And that's what we're showing you is that we found that after having some really rough experiences with teams. The other thing, though, is that people are afraid of doing it. Most rock stars who are listening to this who have the capability are making excuses not to do it because I believe we get burned so bad as owners that when people fire us or talk crap about us from our employees and we have the opposite experience of what you're talking about, they're afraid of giving that much trust. Because you said something that really sparked this for me, Haley. You said, I couldn't do what I do without them. Mm-hmm. I feel the same way. That takes vulnerability. That takes trust to give your company, because you're the one who goes to jail. I go to jail if something goes wrong. Right. And I use that as an extreme example. Yes. But that's what the point is that we have the risk. Mm-hmm. So to take that risk and then just trust that they will take care of us, the only way we can do that is by giving ourselves to them fully. Mm-hmm. And in that, we find greater peace. I always still occasionally have just little worries here and there, like, okay, am I taking care of that person well enough? But that's a good thing. Yes. I think there's something, I never want to be cocky in the fact that, like, they might be taken away in some way, shape, or form, whether that be by choice or by accident. Mm-hmm. I don't want to ever take that for granted.
Yes. 100%
and so I love how you love your team. What do you see for your company as you grow, Haley? Like, what is it that you want to long term? You're so young. Like, what is it that you want to, what you see for your company, your vision?
Yeah. So for me, I just want to make a difference as widely possible, like for as many families, for as many people. And the only way to do that is to grow, both with our physical locations, the service offerings, the community impact that we have, our events, all those things. So I see huge growth. I see kind of taking over as the thought leaders in the pediatric therapy worlds and creating, more places for families to come and creating more job opportunities for team members so that they can continue to do what they love and grow. And the more offices we open, more leadership opportunities that are available, the more chance they have to really, rise up and continue on those more S-curves and all of those things. And because we're motivated by growth. Deep down, we all are motivated by
all of us
growing. And that's what I want to keep creating. So, I really just see us kind of taking over.
You will. I'm so inspired. I promise you, we'll do a follow-up podcast, every growth code if we're both here.
Amazing.
And let's see where you're at. And I promise you, it's going to be exponential because I've seen it at this stage in my business and multiple companies. I see a rising star. It's impossible not to. And it's so fun. So who's your ideal hire? Who would you describe if someone's listening that's going, I want to be someone who works here, who is that person?
We look for team members who are as purpose-driven as ourselves, right? So as our team right now. So people who really feel fueled by our purpose of More to Say.
Yeah.
And who are willing to jump in and be a part of the team and really pull those core values in, right? Support each other, collaborate with each other, live out that growth. We look for people who want to do that, who are willing to do that. And then also fun. People who are fun.
Yeah, you guys are so fun. I can't keep up with your fun. I've been invited to do things with you guys after hours that I just don't have the energy, and I have never had more FOMO. It was like in high school again, watching you guys go out. You're like, come on, Will, let's go. And I'm like, I really have to go to bed.
I know, it's tough because it really is like a very energetic, magnetic.
Youthful.
It's fun. It's fun, and that's every day in our office. Right? I only have 2 of my team members here. Yeah. Sometimes we've gone to conferences with like 8, 9, 10 of our leadership team.
I can only imagine.
And we basically we're like, all right, karaoke night, let's go. Who's coming? Everybody's invited, right? And because you can't can't do the work and no play. You have to do all of it, and the more you can put the play into work,
the more it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, the more it doesn't feel like work.
So. Yeah, you guys do a lot of both. I love that. So if people wanted to apply or patients wanted to learn more, how could they get a hold of you?
Sure. So they could, our website has a direct link to all of our job postings, so moretosayct.com.
So it's www.more, the number 2?
Nope, just spelled like the word.
More to say.
Yeah, CT, like Connecticut.
CT.com.
Yes, so they could look through our careers page there, see our job openings. Families can also reach out to us on the website. They can give our office a call. They can reach out to me directly, Haley Addis at moretosayct.com. And I would love to chat with anyone who is interested in learning more.
I love it. Okay, so you ready to end? I like to do rapid fire questions. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're so you have 2 people who you brought with you. Mm-hmm. What are their spirit animals? What would we say their spirit animals would be?
Okay, so I have Mariana, my admin director here. I think her spirit animal would be a lion. She is a very fierce, and she is fast, and she is just ready to go. She is there.
She's ferocious.
Yes, she is.
Yes.
And then I have Kelsey, who's our clinical director, and I think her spirit animal would more be like a puppy.
Aww.
She's so sweet, and but also like she's so compassionate, and like she's our clinical director, like I said, and every clinician on our team is like, I love Kelsey. I could just talk to her about anything, and she listens.
She has a very calming energy.
Yep. So the puppy is like, you're right. You want them around you. They listen, but also, of course, she always gets done what needs to be done. So
amazing. Okay, what is a book, movie, song, or something that you've heard recently that you really enjoyed?
I'm an avid reader, which is why I started the
book club.
The book club, and I do a mix. I do morning reading, which is my professional development reading, and I do evening reading, which is my fun reading. So I'm really into like the Gilded Age time.
Okay.
So for like on a personal thing, because I do so much talk about work related stuff. I've been reading these murder mysteries of Newport. And
do you read those before you go to bed instead of watching TV?
Yeah, I don't watch TV.
Okay. And that calms you down?
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, it's not like scary.
Okay. The reason being is because I'm trying to find something other than shorts to watch at night, and a book sounds so perfect because it's like a good edifying thing, but my brain
I need to do morning reading for professional development, like I said, because that's when I'm ready to learn.
Yeah, you're open.
Yes, and then at night is when I do an hour and a half of reading at night, and I do an hour in the morning. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, where's somewhere fun in the world you've been, or somewhere you would like to go?
So our number one travel spot is Disney World.
Let's go.
I have 3 kids. We're driving up after this.
Are you really?
Yeah, we're driving up. We go like 3 or 4 times a year, and it's actually it's the most joyful thing for me because I get to watch my children have joy. So
I love that.
Favorite
Okay.
place to be.
Last question. It's funny you mentioned the children piece. It's not lost on me that this is going out into the ether, and that it will be out there for your kids and their kids to watch. They get to see great grandma Haley talk about what she loves. What is it about your company and what you do professionally that you love?
I love making a difference in people's lives. So I just love seeing other people be positively impacted because of what I do. And I will do anything I can to bring joy to more people.
For anyone who's listening, I have the privilege of interacting with hundreds of companies. Ever since I sold my practice, I think I'm upwards of over 1,000. You are in the top 1% of the best I've ever experienced.
That's amazing.
And
it's so kind.
And it's the reason I don't need to go to your clinic or to know that is because it's so evident in your culture. You can't have a culture like with that without production, without being profitable, but without a lot of great leadership and love. So thank you so much for being on the show, Haley.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
It was so great.
It was amazing.
Rock stars, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Willpower Podcast. As always, this is Will reminding you to lead with love and never give up. Until next time.